ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी निधि नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So today we'll be hearing about the Rath Yatra festival in brief. This coming Saturday we are having the Festival of Joy event, and for the devotees of the ISKCON congregation here, we know that we are going to celebrate the Rath Yatra festival. So we will be having the deities of Lord Jagannath, Lord Baladev, Subhadra Devi, and Sudarshanji Maharaj put on chariots, and then we'll take them out for a tour or a ride. Typically, this festival has been celebrated for thousands of centuries, hundreds of years, especially in the holy town of Jagannath Puri. It is also called as Sri Shankha Kshetra. A very benevolent tirtha, very benevolent holy place, Shankha. You know how in the Srimad Bhagavatam we hear that Dhruva Maharaj was touched by the Shankha, the conch of Lord Narayan. Have you heard about Dhruva Maharaj being touched by the conch? How many of us have not? Okay, let us refresh our memory on that. So Dhruva, as a young child, has gone to practice severe austerity and is so focused and dedicated that by his determination, his determination and his austerity affects the functioning of the universe. So in those times, the universe, and especially this middle planetary system, was ruled by his father, King Uttanapad, was blessed by the celestials in the higher planetary systems. So Dhruva, by his sincerity, he had made their functioning a little difficult. Basically, Dhruva had evolved his breathing process and transformed it such that now his breathing was in sync with the breath of the universe. Somehow he did it. Well, somehow, when I say somehow, it means that he knew how to do it. We hear that he did it. Right? Just as some personalities, they know how to become the president of a nation, we hear about it. Right? It's possible that every single citizen can attempt to do it. However, the fact is that most of us get to hear of it and a few make it. So Dhruva made it. So that was affecting the functioning of the living entities in this universe. So Lord Narayan appears to Dhruva Maharaj. Correct? Am I right? Am I making a mistake? Any corrections in that or on that? No? Yes. So all of you are well-read personalities here, right? So I need to have your feedback. So Lord Narayan appears. Now imagine if our attempts have inspired the Lord to appear. What could be the standard of purity of such a person? What do you think? Well, the Lord, there are entities who are unfavorable towards the Lord and they also make the Lord appear. You heard of that? Yeah. However, it's not easy for them to force the Lord or inspire the Lord to appear because the Lord, he has multifarious energies and he can get his tasks done through that. Parasya Shakti Vividhaiva Shruyate. Multifarious energies. I mean, he's like super powerful. Again, he knows that he's super powerful. We hear about it. So, when he appears before Dhruva Maharaj, it is a momentous occasion, a very momentous occasion, monumental. And still, we hear that Dhruva Maharaj is blessed by the touch of the Lord's conch, his Shankha. And that is when all of his indriyas, his senses become active in glorifying the Lord. His eyes are drinking in the nectar of the Lord's form. His ears are eager to hear the Lord's speech. With his sense of taste, he wants to absorb the taste of the Lord's mercy. So everything is a hyperactive mode. And he glorifies the Lord. So the purport is that to be able to attract the attention of the Lord, one needs to be really very sincere, like 24 karat gold sincerity, you know. If sincerity could be gold, so it's 24 karat gold. But then there's something more. So that doesn't mean that 24 karat gold is defective. It is not. Still, there is something more. The conch. In this particular episode, the conch is the via media of receiving that mercy. So the conch of the Lord, which is also called as a Shankha, is the merciful aspect or is the representation of the Lord's mercy. So Shankha Kshetra is a very merciful tirtha, very, very merciful. Shri Jagannath Puri. So that is where the So we are done with Chaitra, we are done with Vaishak. What is the next month? Jyeshta. So we'll be having Jyeshta coming up. So within the coming 30 days, we should have the birthday celebration of Lord Jagannath. That is Jyeshta Purnima. So what is the ritual that is adopted to celebrate birthdays? According to the books of rituals for people following Sanatana Dharma, what are some of the rituals that should be adopted? The first ritual is when you wake up on the day when your birth star is arising on the horizon, which is your birthday. And according to the English calendar, it could be when the English calendar tells you today is your birthday. So when that arises, that nakshatra, that birth star arises on the horizon, it is rising up, which means that if we believe in birth stars and their mercy, we have to understand that there's so many ways that we receive mercy, then that is a special day to receive mercy. So when you want mercy, you go out with outstretched hands. Please give me some mercy, right? What if we have a knife in those hands? How does that look? If I have a knife in my hand and I say, please, can you give me some mercy? And then we celebrate the knife in the hand as those two words, right? It's interesting, isn't it? Think about it. So typically, it is called as Abhibhrita Snan, the auspicious bath of the year. So mentally, physically, you have to be very clean so that you can beg for mercy on the day you were born many, many solar years ago. So that bath is very important. That is what happens on Jyeshta Purnima. What does happen on Jyeshta Purnima? Lord Jagannath gets his bath. Well, he gets a really serious bath. Huge pots of, like hundreds of huge pots of water are poured over him and his brother and sister too. They like to have fun together. They're like, whenever he gets to have fun, it's very interesting. So they also participate. Always. And then he goes in seclusion for 15 days. Anavasar or Anavasar. And then there is Netrutsav or Navayovan. Again, he gives darshan and Rath Yatra. So that is how the festival has been celebrated for ages in Jagannath Puri. And in 1966, a very traditional and munificent sage, saintly personality, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, he inspired people in the Western world. And then we had the Rath Yatra here. We began celebrating the Rath Yatra outside of the Indian subcontinent. So, we all love the Rath Yatra because there's lots of prasad, there's lots of kirtan. The children love it because they have gopi dots all over themselves. They have, I mean, on their faces, not all over themselves, sorry. They get to put tilak in very wonderful ways. They have nice dresses. They put on, yeah. So it's festive atmosphere. And the adults are telling all the children, go take mercy of Jagannath, go take mercy of Jagannath. They've also taken the mercy of Lord Jagannath. And then we have heard that Now we have to take the Lord who is on the chariot to Sri Vrindavan Dham. Isn't most of us, we know about it. Then somebody asks, where is the prasad stall? Where is prasadam being served? So typically, Vrindavan Dham is close to the prasadam stall. So this is a prasad movement. The kitchen movement. Srila Prabhupada, in the early days, he told one of his devotees, ours is a kitchen movement. We will go back home, back to Godhead by eating prasad. There are some statements of Srila Prabhupada that we really dig into. This is one of those crown jewel of statements. Prasad is our lifeline. I mean, food prasad. So anyways, Rath Yatra. How did it all begin? It all began with Lord Jagannath's appearance. And we've heard so many stories about Lord Jagannath's appearance. Have you heard so many stories? There's just one story of his appearance. However, the details are slightly different according to where the references are from. The most prominent reference is taken from the Skanda Purana. There's a Utkala Kand in the Skanda Purana. The Skanda Purana is one of the Vedic literatures, and there are various sections which are called as Kand, chapters. So there is a Utkal Kand. Utkal is another name for Sri Jagannath Puri Dham. Yes. So hundreds and thousands of years ago, like really many Mahayugas ago, so let us say hundreds and thousands, centuries and centuries ago, a king was determined to have the darshan of the Lord in a very specific form, King Indradyumna. Somehow things didn't work out. So he decided to fast unto death. Narad Muni appeared there. And whenever Narad Muni appears, it is fun time. Narad Muni makes devotional practice really fun. Yes? So he says, hey, Indradyumna Maharaj, why are you fasting? He says, well, the Lord, I'm bereft of the mercy of the Lord. So he says, well, let's go and see him. He says, oh, see the Lord? He says, no. Let's go and see someone who can tell us how we can invoke the presence of the Lord. Who's that? Brahmaji. How do I go to Brahma's place? Lord Brahma's abode. I will take you. Now, generally, Narad Muni is a simpleton. Typically, he's a simpleton, right? He just travels across the airways. He is his own plane, his own spaceship. He is his own pilot. And he does not have to depend on any crises in the world, like the oil crisis. So he can travel. And all he needs, or his needs, are very simple. He just has his playing instrument called as the veena, the stringed instrument. That's it. A dress to cover up himself, a veena, and Narad Muni is traveling place to place. But for Indradyumna Maharaj, he goes abracadabra, children. He goes snap, snap, snappity snap. And a chariot appears. Imagine flying through space without a spaceship. That would, scare anyone. So he did not want to scare Indradumna Maharaj, taking him by his hand and zoo. So Narad Muni manifested a chariot. He told him, here, get on this chariot. And they left for Brahmaloka. There, Lord Brahma was engaged in some very serious subject matters. So they waited to have his attention. And a few moments later, Brahmaji gave his attention. An entire Manvantar had passed on earth. An entire Manvantar. He said, okay, what is your problem? This is the issue. All right, no problem. You go and do certain tapas, you do certain yagyas, you do some austerity, and the Lord will be pleased and the Lord will appear. Oh, he'll appear? Oh, yes. The Lord has his own ways of invoking his presence. So they come back. They come back and he starts doing his austerities and he does his yagyas and time passes. And finally, everything is done. He looks around, nothing is happening. So he says, all right, I've been to Brahmaji's place. I followed his instructions. Nothing has changed. Here is the ocean in front of me. He did his meditation there in Shankhakshetra. Here is the ocean in front of me. And this is a place called as Chakra Tirtha because this is where the Lord Sudarshan Chakra many ages ago had manifested his mercy. So here I am going to take Jala Samadhi. You know what is Jala Samadhi? Jala Samadhi means I will finish off my earthly pastimes. Okay, bye-bye Tata to my earthly pastimes. And meditating on the holy names of the Lord, I will attain another destination. Hopefully the Lord's lotus feet. So it's a recommended process, not for everyone. You have to qualify yourself. You have to tick the boxes. So Indradumna Maharaj, he sent a letter to his counselor, his mentor, and took their blessings. So the council gave their blessings, and then it takes Jala Samadhi. So please don't try this at home or on your own. This has to be properly sanctioned.
Well, I missed a detail. He went to Brahmaji and came back, and then
yes. So he takes Jala Samadhi. He enters the water, and then he sees 3 logs of wood floating towards him. Divine logs. He says, what is this? The logs come and gently push him. No Jala Samadhi, no Jala Samadhi, go back. So the logs wash ashore. He tries to lift them, they wouldn't move. So he's a king. But by then, an entire Manvantar and more than that had passed. So there he was no longer the king. Somebody else was the king. Galamadha. So he requests him, could you help me? The king says, sure, I will. He calls for all of his able-bodied, strong-bodied men. None of them could lift the logs. He calls for his elephants, the king's elephants. He calls for all those huge cranes. Nothing would move the logs. Then a certain tribe of people, they come along with their king. They say, move aside, move aside. The king says, yes, give them a chance. They come and they pick up the logs and where do you want us to take the logs? So from Chakra Tirtha, they bring those logs to the place known as Gundicha temple. At that time, there was no Gundicha temple. That is where King Galamadhav gives him place, because now it is his kingdom. So that is where Vishwakarmaji comes, for he asks for 21 days, 3 weeks. He says, no one should disturb me. I should be all alone. You should not check on me. And please don't worry about my eating and my sleeping. Don't disturb me at all. You disturb me, I'll vanish. Before this 20 days, 21 days are done. Somehow King Indradumna Maharaj couldn't wait beyond 14 days. He opens the door. Vishwakarma, who was in disguise, he disappears. And there are these 3 logs of wood that are in the present forms as we see them as Sri Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra. So that is the story. Okay, now we know how Lord Jagannath appeared. I wouldn't, there's much more to that story. This is Skanda Puran. What is a Rath Yatra then? So now we'll have to understand who is Krishna. So, who do you think Krishna is? Anyone here who knows who Krishna is? Yes. Really? Wow. That's amazing. Does he have cookies?
Yes.
He does? All right. The Supreme Personality of Godhead with cookies. That's Krishna. Yes. Anyone else? Who's Krishna?
All attractive.
You get 2 cookies now. All attractive Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay. For Gaudiya Vaishnavas, Krishna is the Supreme Lord in the combined form of him being the energetic Lord and his energy. We always see Krishna along with Srimati Radharani. That is the Gaudiya Vaishnava perspective. So if somebody asks a Gaudiya Vaishnava, who is Krishna? So the all attractive Supreme Personality of Godhead, that is what we say when we are introducing people to Krishna consciousness. And when we are having Ishtagoshti, when we are having a discussion amongst devotees who've been practicing for a long time, who's Krishna? Krishna is the worshipable Lord of Srimati Radharani. Yes. So Krishna is the supremely energetic Lord, and Sri Radharani is the supreme energy. Radha Purna Shakti, Krishna Purna Shakti Man, Dui Vastu Bhedanai Shastra Paraman. Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Radha Purna Shakti, Radha is this complete energy, the complete form of supreme energy. Krishna Shaktiman, but not Shaktiman means powerful, but not just all powerful, Purna power, complete. When we think all powerful, sometimes we think Krishna is like, he has this big muscular body. In the early days, somebody made a painting of Krishna. Krishna was very muscular. Prabhupada says, who's this? The all-powerful Lord. So therefore, we say he's the Purna Bhagavan, complete Lord. So is there a difference between the two? Well, because we are using the English language, there could be. All means always. He's always powerful. Complete means he is powerful whenever he wants to be. So when whenever he wants to be powerful enough to lift the Govardhan, he goes ding on his little pinky finger of the left hand. Hey Indra, are you having fun? Me too. And when he wants to be powerless, he runs behind Mother Yashoda. Oh, there's lightning, thunder striking, please, I'm afraid. And he hides behind Mother Yashoda or hides underneath her sari. So that is the complete, the Purna Bhagavan. Complete wouldn't be a right. I don't know how to explain Purna as. Purna Bhagavan, that is Krishna. And Radharani similarly is supremely powerful, and at the same time, see, she's also supremely dependent on her assistants too. She's like, oh Lalita, oh Vishaka, what should I do now? And then needed, she's like, Krishna, I'm not talking with you. Krishna, anyone comes to, hey, Krishna, we need this thing to be heard. And Krishna said, wait a moment, I have to first. Radharani is Manalila. So, or in Srila Prabhupada's words, Radharani says, you should accept this person. Krishna is like, yes, ma'am. Supremely powerful. And it is at the same time very much dependent on her friends. So you see, Purna Bhagavan, and she is Purna Shakti. Dui Vastu Bhedanai. Although it seems there are two different personalities, Still, there is no difference between them. And how do we say that? Shastra Paraman. The Praman is, the proof is the Vedic literatures. They say that there's no difference. They are the same personality. And the same personality is sometimes manifested as one and sometimes is manifested as two. And how does that happen? Radha Krishna Aiche Sada Ekahi Swarupa. They are always one Swarupa. Aiche Sada Ekahi Swarupa. Aiche Sada, always they are one Swarupa. They have one manifestation. Radha Krishna. Leela Rasa Asadite Dhare Doi Rupa. So Eka Rupa, one manifestation, now is manifesting as Dui Rupa, two manifestations or two forms. For what? Leela Rasa Aswadit, for the purpose of manifesting emotional exchanges and to make it a little more understandable. It is not just emotional exchanges, but loving emotional exchanges. So Krishna is always with Srimati Radharani. Sometimes manifesting as two personalities and sometimes just as one personality. So when there is one personality, it seems that there is abhav, or it seems that there is something missing. Seems like that. And when there are two personalities, it seems that there is now the facility for being complete. So this is described as viraha or separation and sambhoga or union. So when there is sambhoga, it seems that now there is union, there is closeness. And when there is viraha, it seems that now there is separation. They have gone away, but it is not either. Why? Because Radha Krishna are ekahi swarupa. So how do we understand this with our brains? They know it, we hear of it. All right? Radha and Krishna know it, we hear about it. So is it possible we can know it? Yes. How? Entire heritage, an entire parampara, a succession, a disciplic succession of great personalities. They have shared their realizations that it is possible. And how is it possible? Chant Hare Krishna and make it possible. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So there is Radha Krishna, and now Lord Jagannath has manifested. So is there a connection between the two? Yes, there is. Everyone, most of us, we know there's a connection. Lord Jagannath is Krishna. Lord Jagannath has also been described by two other phrases. One is called as the Mahaprakash Bhav Swarup, and the other is called as Radha Viraha Vidura Swarup. Basically, it's the same, but it manifests different dimensions. It basically means Krishna, who's very, very, very eager for tasting the mellows of Srimati Radharani's service. It's like Krishna is hungry. Ashnami prayatatmana tadaham bhakti upahritam. He's saying, do you have Radharani? Do you have Radharani? Who has Radharani? And someone says, I have. He says, give it to me. Patram pushpam phalam toyam. How can I give it to you? Simple, through a fruit, a flower, a leaf, or some water. Please give me that Radharani. So basically, Radha means that which is very attractive. Aradhita, aradhana, worshipable. So Bhagavad Gita, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tad aham bhakti uparitam. I taste that service, the devotional service that has been offered. So Krishna is like, do you have? And you say, yeah, I have. And Krishna says, now he'll taste it. So he accepts the service of that devotee. Because Krishna feels that Srimati Radharani is blessing that devotee by sharing her own devotional mood with that devotee. So Krishna is in Radha Viraha Bhav. How did this happen? A very interesting personality made this happen in Krishna Leela, in Krishna's pastimes. His name is Kamsa or Kamsa. The place where I come from, Maharashtra, it is Kamsa. Kamsa Maharaj. He's a very funny character. Again and again and again, he realizes that his nephew is a supreme lord, but he doesn't give up. He's like in Hindi, we have a saying, karenge ya to marenge. Do or die. So he persists again and again and again, trying to get Krishna killed. Doesn't happen. So now he brings Krishna from Vrindavan to Dwarka, no, to Mathura. So Krishna says, okay, now I'm here. Tata, bye-bye, goodbye. So Kansa, now your part in this drama is over. So Kansa is gone. His great-grandfather, Krishna's father's father, so grandfather, Ugrasen Maharaj, is made king. Krishna becomes a prince now. Prince of Mathura. Growing up, two interesting personalities trouble them. One is Jarasandha, the other is Kalayavan. Krishna says, time to look for a new job. The market is down in Mathura right now. Have to move places. So Krishna, he sees that Jarasandha and Kalayavana are trying to bring down the stock exchange in Mathura. So he says, let me start a new one in Dwarka. So he starts a new community in Dwarka, and there he becomes a prince of Dwarka. Now, while becoming a prince of Mathura and a prince of Dwarka, what has happened? Radha Viraha. He's been away from Srimati Radharani. He gets married. So there are a couple of stories. I'll tell you just one story of what is a connection. And you've heard. This story is in two different Puranas. It is slightly different, essentially the same. Different in the sense, where did this pastime take place? So in one Puran, the pastime took place in the holy place of Kurukshetra. So we know Krishna had come to Kurukshetra with all the Yaduvamshis, with all the members of the Yadu dynasty from Dwarka. And who else had come to Kurukshetra? It was a time of the solar eclipse. Who else had come? The residents of Vrindavan, including the Gopas, the Gopis, Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj. Everyone had come to Kurukshetra. So that is one. And the other setting for this pastime is Dwarka itself. And in both the settings, Queen Satyabhama comes up to Mother Rohini and says, we are no longer able to see Krishna's distress. And she's like, why? What happened? He never has a peaceful sleep. Why? Throughout the night, he's tossing and turning around. Gopi, Gopi, Radhe, Radhe. Satyabhama is a little more dynamic in a presentation. She's like, he only goes Gopi, Gopi, Gopi. No, Satya, Satya, Satya. And then the other queens also, 16,108. Every single queen says that's the same story with all of us. And then they ask her, please let us know what is the nature of Sri Vrindavan. Mother Rohini says, well, you'll have to go to an ISKCON temple. They are very good at just doing this, sharing this knowledge. So she becomes one of her predecessor teachers, Mother Rohini. She starts describing the beautiful pastimes of Sri Vrindavan. Or before she starts that, she warns them, if I do start describing, I will not be able to stop myself. They said, it's perfectly all right. We have nothing else to do. She said, no, you're not the problem. Whenever anyone describes Krishna's pastimes, Krishna is right there. Like once upon a time, when Mother Yashoda put Krishna to sleep and she was trying to churn the yogurt to produce butter, she started singing Krishna's glories, describing pastime. Krishna was awake and he's like, stop this. I'm hungry. So wherever there is the discussion of Krishna's pastimes, Krishna is right there. Yatra gayanti mad bhakta tatra tisthami narada. Wherever my devotees are glorifying me, that is where I am. So he'll be here. And they're like, that's all right. I mean, everyone likes to hear their own glories. Let him hear. You don't understand. It's not just he likes to hear his glories. He doesn't like anything else. Because it's not his glories. It's always the glories of his devotees. And there's no way we can keep him away from Vrindavan then. Either he'll run to Vrindavan or he'll simply give up his life. They're like, okay, none of those two proposals work for us. So what should we do? So Satyabhama, out of the corner of her eye, Queen Satyabhama, she sees that Subhadra is walking towards them. She says, hey, Subhadra. She says, yes, could you please stand guard and don't let Krishna and Balaram come here. Subhadra is like, I just received a notification. There's something wonderful going to happen here. I'm participating here. Subhadra, this is the problem. She says, all right. Anyways, I have very sharp ears. I like to hear everything and I get to hear everything. So you know who has all the transcendental gossip? That is Krishna's younger sister. She is a very, very lovable personality. Even Balaramji may not have as much information as she has because she has very sharp ears. That is how we should be, very sharp ears. Any transcendental gossip, yes. Anything other than that, the shutter should be down. Sorry, sir. Working hours are over. And even if it is the middle of the night or we are very tired, if there is discussion about Krishna, Hari Katha, transcendental gossip or transcendental description of Krishna's activities, the ears should be very eager to drink in that nectar. So she says, I can do that. I'll stay guard. I'll stand at the door. And if I see Krishna and Balaram coming, I'll stop them right there so that they don't get to hear. At the same time, I'll have one of my ears tuned in to the pastimes. Well, she got affected. She could no longer control her senses. Have you ever been stunned in life? Have you ever been stunned? Like really super stunned in life? If you have ever been stunned in life, you know what happens? You kind of go like, you're speechless. You forget to blink. Your throat gets dry. And it's as if you don't have your limbs anymore. It's as if they've all been retracted. So for us, that is a kind of an imagination. for personalities like Subhadra Devi, whatever she feels, that is how her body manifests. So ping, hands, they disappear, the legs disappear. She just has fixated eyes, this beautiful smile. Krishna and Balaram come along. They're like, hey, Subhadra. Balaram is like, no, Krishna, no. But then he's like, yes, yes. Because he knows what's going to happen. He knows what has happened here. He immediately understands. I mean, he's a super guru, right? Supremely intelligent. He immediately figures out 1 + 1 is 11 here. He figures that out. It's 2. So he's like, Krishna, no. But internally he's like, yes. Why should only she have the fun? It's this so nectarine. So both of them, Krishna goes and stands on her right, Balaram on her left, and they're like standing there, and they also go into ecstasy. Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra now have manifested this form. So where does Sudarshan ji come? Sudarshan ji is always with Krishna. Sudarshan, his Krishna's auspicious vision. So he also manifests there along with Krishna, and he is also in the form of this beautiful pillar. Who do you think happens to come right then? Yes. What would we do without Narada? We'd be lost, really lost. He is that beautiful connection that we have with so many devotees and so many pastimes. He is there. He's like, what is happening? What is happening? I have to broadcast this all over the world. Krishna is saying, no, you don't have the broadcasting rights. Not as yet. This is a private matter. Why? I don't like this. Narada goes like, yes, this tantrum. No. I want to let the whole world know. I want to let the whole Krishna. Shh. Listen. Narada like, that's not me. I cannot just be myself listening to Krishna's pastimes. I have to let the whole world listen. This is my default mode. You made me like that. Service unto you made me like that. Krishna says, okay, Narada, not right now, but after some time, I'm going to manifest this form for everyone to see. Narada is like, where? Jagannath Puri. So now we understand why Narada is telling Indra, Maharaj, come, I'll take you to that Lord Brahma's abode. So that is how they manifested that form. What were the 3 logs of wood? So according to the Odiya Vaishnavas, who are also Gaudiyas, you know how during Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's times, there were the Gaudiyas and the Odiyas. The Odiya were the devotees from Utkal, and the Gaudiyas were the devotees from Banga. So the Odiya devotees, they describe that this wasn't the only time that Mother Rohini narrated the pastime. However, this wasn't the only time when Krishna was feeling so much separation from the residents of Vrindavan. It would happen so many times that suddenly Krishna would be stunned remembering the residents of Vrindavan. And seeing him, if Balaramji was with him, or if Uddhavji was with him, or Narad Muni was with him, they would all be very much concerned. So one particular day, Krishna goes into that mood of separation from the residents of Vrindavan. He's like, the love of Mother Yashoda, her service, and Nanda Baba, his service, and Lalita, Vishakha, Shri Dhamma, Subal, and he's having tears and crying, and then Srimati Radharani, hey Radhe. So Krishna falls practically senseless, unconscious on the floor. It's just tears streaming down his eyes, his cheeks. So Uddhav and Narada were there. Uddhav immediately takes out his cell phone and texts, ping, 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 Baladev, Dauji Maharaj, you are needed here immediately. Balaramji, man comes there. Says, oh, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? This is the nth number of time that he's swooning like this, and this cannot go on. I mean, the doctors have said this is not good for him. And Balaram goes and kind of tests his pulse, and it's like, this is different. Today he's like, this is really very serious. I don't think we may be able to revive him back. And Uddhav and Narada are like, no, that is not possible. He says, the only way to do that is if Narada Muni, you start glorifying all the residents of Vrindavan and describing their beautiful qualities and how they offer their love to Krishna. And Narada Muni says, I would love to do that, but do you know what happens when I do that? Even if we revive him, he'll not stay in Dwarka anymore. He'll run towards Vrindavan. And do you know the pathways to Vrindavan, from Dwarka to Vrindavan? He'll go through all the thorns and bushes, and all the sharp stones will cut his feet. Balaram is like, don't worry, I will immediately inform Daruka, be ready with his chariot. So Narada Muni says, all right. Uddhava says, but if Krishna goes to Vrindavan and sees all the residents of Vrindavan and how much sorrow they are in, he'll not be able to survive. He's like, what did I do? How could I have done this to my devotees? So Uddhavji says, we have to prepare the residents of Vrindavan, let them know that Krishna is coming, and tell them that please be happy for Krishna's sake when he comes here. So Narada Muni says, well, I'm going to be narrating the pastimes. So Uddhava, you have to do the work. He says, me? I tried it. I failed utterly. Krishna sent me, putting so much faith in me. Uddhava, go and console the residents of Vrindavan. I went there. Talk about consoling them. I came back feeling that Krishna is a culprit. How could you have done that to the residents of Vrindavan? I came back and told him, shame on you, Krishna. And I felt bad because I'm telling my own Krishna, shame on you. How could you do that to the residents of Vrindavan? Krishna started crying and said, Uddhava, what can I do? If I go there again, there's so much more work that I have to do here. If I go there even once, they will never, ever, ever let me go. And I will never, ever, ever be able to come back. And do you know what would happen then? All these peoples who are just bent upon bringing irreligiosity on this planet, they will all attack Vrindavan. So I have to stay away. So they say, Balaramji, you please, you could do it. I'm just Krishna's friend. You grew up there. Mother Yashoda, she loves you like a son. You are her son. You are Nanda Baba's son. You please go. Balaramji says, yes, I will go. And then he says, I don't think so. I was there for 2 months. And they were also happy. Because they thought that now, since I am here, Krishna would also come. But I knew that Krishna was not going to come. And I also knew that I couldn't stay. So I had to take their leave. And I told them, I told Mother Yashoda especially, Maya, Ma, Yashoda Maya, I promise you on my life, like that, whatever he did. I give you my word. I will bring Krishna here. I come back and Krishna convinced me the best thing is not to go back. Now if I go back to Mother Yashoda is like, where is your word? What happened to it? How can I even face Mother Yashoda? So then what do we do? He's here. And I have to narrate those pastimes. What should I do? So who do you think comes in now? Who has the sharpest of ears? Yes, she gets information. She's right there. I will go. I'll go and sit in Mother Yashoda's lap. And Mother Yashoda is like, my sweet child. And she'll believe everything I tell her. I tell her, oh, Krishna is coming. Don't worry. Don't worry. So they say, this is a good idea. You should go, Subhadra. Subhadra says, all right, get my chariot ready. So as her chariot is getting ready, Balaram is like, you are my little sister. I am Balaram. Whenever I used to go out with Krishna, Mother Yashoda would always tell me, you are the eldest. Thou, you are the eldest. You have to take care of your siblings. What would Mother Yashoda say if I let you go alone? And internally, he's thinking, I have to find some pretext to go along with her. I want to see Mother Yashoda. I also want to sit in her lap. I want to, again, eat the butter of her fingers when she feeds me. I'll also get my chariot ready. So he gets his chariot ready and he's like, Subhadra, follow me. I'll protect you. So in Rath Yatra, whose chariot goes ahead first? Baladev. He is there to protect his sister. Whose chariot goes next? Subhadra Maya. She is like, I'll go and I'll convince Mother Yashoda. So when they are off, Narada Muni Bajai Veena Radhika Ramana Nami starts singing the glories of Radha Krishna. Radhe, Radhe, Radhe. Krishna is, where is Vrindavan? Where is Vrindavan? He looks around. Where is Radharani? He looks at Narada Muni. He says, Narad, you're in Vrindavan? How did that happen? Radhe, where is Radharani? Where is Radha? And then he looks around and says, Uddhav, Uddhav, you're also in Vrindavan? When did you come? Krishna believes that he's in Vrindavan. Then he looks around and says, this is not Vrindavan. Where is the Yamuna? Where is Giriraj? Where are my cows? And then he says, where is my flute? I think the gopis, they must have stolen my flute. They're always doing that, stealing my flute. I don't know what they have against my flute. Well, they have a lot of things to say about his flute. Where is my flute? Narada says, actually, you're in Dwarka. He says, Narada, what am I doing in Dwarka? Where is my chariot? Daruka says, here, my lord, I'm waiting. He says, Krishna just jumps onto his chariot. And the chariot runs towards Vrindavan. So, which is the last chariot to go towards Vrindavan? And Sudarshan ji is hanging on. Wait, I'm also there. So, who rides along with Jagannath ji? Sudarshan ji. And that is how they go towards Vrindavan. Baladev, Subhadra, they are going there, or Subhadra is going there to convince Mother Yashoda. Baladev ji is there because he also wants to be there. Krishna is intoxicated. So if you come to Jagannath Puri and when you see Lord Jagannath come out, he is in an intoxicated state. I'm going to Vrindavan. I'm going to Vrindavan. Like that. He's very excited. So sometimes he goes tottering this way, sometimes he falls that way. He's like, this is the way, that is the way. Narada Muni and Uddhava telling, Shant, Bhav. Quiet, my dear Lord, quiet. Be peaceful. There is your chariot. So he jumps on his chariot and goes. When Baldev and Subhadra reach Vrindavan, they see the residents of Vrindavan. Subhadra, she's for the first time experiencing Vrindavan. She's like, who am I? How did I come here? What is this place? Who can ever leave this place? Who are these devotees? Like, I just want to be here. She's so involved with all of them. That is when she transforms into her Mahabhava. Everything that's integrated within her consciousness. It's like she wants to conserve all of an energy and absorb everything that Vrindavan represents. Chanting could be like that, Could be. Anyways, we hear of people who have done it. They know it. We hear of it. So, they have reached there. Krishna is not, he is like very soon in Vrindavan. Somehow he understands Radharani is in distress because by that time Radharani was practically lifeless. Her assistants, Lalita and Vishakha Devi, they were destroying, just as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he saw Lord Jagannath and he fell down, practically lifeless, and only Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya could detect that he still had his life air. Similarly, only Lalita and Vishakha, she had this fever of separation. She was burning in that. She was practically not breathing. Tears were just simply streaming down her ears. And all they could do to keep her with them, keep her life air, was Lalita Devi would constantly chant the names of Krishna in her ear. Shyam, 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 Shyam. And Radharani would go, and then she would start crying again. And she would say, Shyam, and Radharani would go, she was like the transcendental ICU. That Krishna, I want to see you, that ICU. She was in the ICU moment. Krishna comes there. This is Nidhuvan, or Nidhivan as we know it as. And when he sees her, that is where Krishna becomes stunned. He has his huge eyes. Nayana dayotful. Kuvalaya dayotful. Yes, yeah? Param Brahma Pida Kuvalaya dalotful Nayano. That is what is being described here. Guys, Krishna's fallen lifeless now. Lalita and Vishakha go, this is Ladli here, this is Lal here. What do we do with both of them? There's like, it's back to the old days, bringing the two together. The Yugal Sarkar, the two worshipable deities, bringing them together. So Vishakha goes to Krishna and she's kind of keeping him there. And Lalita now has hope. She whispers into Radharani's ear, Shyam is here. Radha goes, nothing happens. Shyam is here. Still, she's in the same state. And then Yamuna Devi, she says, I know what to do. She brings in a gust of air, which flows over Krishna's body. And that air carries beautiful fragrance and aroma of Krishna's transcendental body right into Srimati Radharani's nostrils. And Radharani goes, Shyam, 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 she's awake. And then she sees her Shyam Sundar there crying tears. Now by this time, Krishna has taken this form. Ping. His hands have kind of withdrawn, his legs have withdrawn. He has become Kurma Roop. Like a tortoise. You know how a tortoise withdraws its limbs? So similarly, he's taken on that form. Radharani tells Vishakha, Vishakha, this is my Prana Vallabh. Please take care of him. Vishakha says, yes, Swamini, yes, my mistress. Now I know what to do. She starts whispering Srimati Radharani's name in Krishna's ears. Hare, 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 Radhe, Radhe. And Krishna, he feels as if the names of Radha, when whispered by Vishakha into his ears, he feels as if Radharani is, through her merciful glance or her merciful service attitude, she is embracing him. And that is what is described as Rasanando Radha Sarasava Pura Lingana Sukho. He becomes happy, ecstatic, because Rasananda. Jagannatha Swami Nayana Pathagami Bhavatu Me. Please, my dear Lord, these eyes are thirsting to have darshan of your beautiful form, O Lord of the universe. So, Radha Sarasa Vapur Alingana Sukho. Radha Sarasa Vapuhu. This can also be translated as Srimati Radharani seeing Krishna, she wants to protect him from all these intense emotions. So she gives her kanti, she gives her transcendental effulgence to Krishna. So if you look at Lord Jagannath's body, his face is full of his intensity for Radharani. It is dark, it is deep. And the rest of his body would be? What is the color? Srimati Radharani's color. Molten gold. So that is Vapuralingana Sukho, Jagannatha Swami, Nayana Pathagami, Bhavatame. So all of us are like Daruka now. We are taking that chariot from Dwarka to Vrindavan. So stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Any comments? Questions? Yes.
First of all, Prabhu, thank you for giving such a nice lecture on Rath Yatra. So I'm I'm a very naive devotee compared to all of you, and
Two of us then.
I'm like more naive than you also.
Let's have some debate on that.
So my question is like very as I'm very naive, so my question is also very naive only, and pardon my ignorance. So like you told in the start that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God and he's the Purna of that. That was the what?
No, I said Purna Bhagavan.
Purna Bhagavan. That was the word that we used. So does it mean that Ramchandra ji or Narsim Dev ji are not the Purna of Purna Bhagavan?
They are Purna Bhagavan.
So like, and recently I was like listening to this sloka that Iswara Parama Krishna Sachidanand Vigraha Anadi Adi Govinda Sarvakar Karana. So like in that also it is mentioned that like Krishna is the Lord Bhagavan, and there is one more.
It is mentioned that he is the cause of all causes.
Oh, yeah, that is true.
There's so many adjectives there in Anadi, Adi, all of that, the cause of all causes.
Yeah, and there is one bhajan also like Om Jai Jagdishare, and that it is mentioned that Tum Purna Paramatma, something like that. So like my question, I come from Varanasi, Kashi, so they're like Shivji and Ramchandra ji, so both of them are like revered very much. So
no, Krishna is also revered. I think there is Bindu Madhav there, Bindu Madhav temple,
yeah, there is
and before, or there's some connection, I'm not sure. However, the blessings of Mahadev is only complete. One can receive the blessings of, not complete, one to receive the blessings of Mahadev, one has to visit the Bindu Madhav temple. That is the Mahatmya of Kashi.
So
is it Bindu Madhav, Veni Madhav? I think Bindu Madhav.
I have just like at that time when I was in Varanasi, I was not knowing that much about this one. After coming to Dallas only, I came to know. Now, like,
good for you.
Very much curious. When I'll go back, I'll visit there.
Yes.
So like,
it is very close. Bindu Madhav temple is close to Dashashramid Ghat. You just have to ask her.
Yeah, it's near to the Dukat.
Yeah, it's across the road on a small hill.
Yeah. So like, so my question was like, can we also revere Ramchandra ji as the Purna Bhagavan and Narsimha as Purna Bhagavan?
Thank you for asking the question. Can we revere Lord Ramachandra as Purna Bhagavan or Lord Nrsimhadev as Purna Bhagavan? I think rather than ask can we should understand that we should. It's not can we. There's no question or doubt that can we revere them as Purna Bhagavan. We should revere them as Purna Bhagavan. All right? And Srila Prabhupada is a prolific intellectual. He says in transcendence, there are so many varieties. He says there is complete, he says there's perfect, more perfect, most perfect. But that doesn't make perfect lower than the others. because perfect means perfect. So how can perfect be anyways imperfect? However, he says perfect, there is more perfect, and there is most perfect. So basically it means that, let's say someone has a taste for one particular kind of music and is perfectly happy with it. Along with that, if someone also has a taste for music and some other art form, let's say dance. So if it was just one form, it is perfect in itself, complete in itself. Now, if you add something more to it, it is still perfect. You could also call it as more perfect. Okay. So Lord Ramachandra is perfect. Krishna is perfect, complete, Purna Bhagavan. The word Krishna means all attractive. The understanding of Rama means reservoir of all pleasure. Raman. That is the root word, the verbal root. So when we speak of pleasure, pleasure is attractive, isn't it? However, to be able to understand pleasure, we have to separately also say it is attractive. When you say attractive, anything that is attractive gives you pleasure too. So that is how there could be a few various layers about these understandings. All right. Similarly, Narsinghadev, we will not go into more analysis of that, but similarly, we can understand. That is how these wonderful forms have their own flavors. So why do we say Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam? Why do we say, however, or emphatically, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Why do we say that? The understanding of Krishna being all attractive is inclusive, all inclusive. So it's more about a philosophical understanding than trying to make a distinction between various personalities. Understand this point? So that's it.
Thank you so much.
However, from practical experience, or according to practical experience, ultimately one will be a little more attached to one particular form. It just happens. So one could be completely attached to Lord Narsinghadev. So Lord Narsinghadev is Purna Bhagavan.
Yeah, my question came from that perspective. From like childhood, I have been worshipping Ramchandraji, Hanumanji, and now here like I'm just worshipping Krishna, and I don't see any deities of Ramchandraji. So my question came from that point, and you answered it well. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, you were split second first, but you asked her to go. Yes.
So in continuation to the question Prabhuji asked, so if someone wants to chant Lord Ram's name on the beads instead of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, is that like then?
One does have freedom of choice. However, if you want to accept it under some guidance, then you'll have to ask that particular guide what would be good for you. All right. Otherwise, there is freedom. One can always choose to do what one feels most comfortable with.
Because like he said, he's attached to Lord Ram. Like my mom, she goes to the temple and she in Nasik, she's in Nasik actually, and but she's always attached to chanting Ram on the beads.
Yes.
And if we tell her, oh, you have for initiation, you have to chant Hare Krishna, and she says, I'm okay doing this, and I'm like, I don't want to like disturb her, but it's like. But in ISKCON, I think we focus more on Hare Krishna.
As I said, if somebody wants to take shelter of a guide, then that is their choice. However, if I think that somebody else should take shelter of a guide, that is a good thought. If the the opposite party is open to it, that's their choice. However, they feel comfortable with whatever they're doing, that is also a good choice. There's not much lacking. It's much more easier to have somebody else to share your experiences with. That is how a guru-disciple relationship is formed. It's much easier to share and seek. So if someone wants to follow their education privately, that's your choice. If they want to have institutionalized education, that's your choice. It's just that institutionalized education gives you a format and it's easier to follow it. Yeah. Yeah.
So probably to both of them, my question will come after that, but just in comment, Srila Prabhupada's disciple, I had asked that the same sort of question, if they have their Ishta to be somebody else, any form of Vishnu. And Prabhupada says this is the same four regulative principle and same Mahamantra you have to chant no matter what is your constitutional position. It's in DVD 1, Srila Prabhupada memories. And Srila Prabhupada says that no matter who's your Ishta, so long it's Vishnu, this is the process that Hare Krishna Mahamantra follows.
That is true. At the same time, we have to also know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu allowed a few people to do. So there's room for everyone. He built a house in which everyone can.
So coming to my actual, it's not a question, would you please enlighten more on like chanting can be that kind of experience, that ecstasy that you were saying?
I said, we hear of it. They know about it.
Maybe you talk a little bit, maybe you will feel it a little.
We have the words and their memoirs of great personalities. That's more than enough. If you read that, because that is really coming from a very, very pure state of existence. So we have a lot of it.
But it can happen if somebody really...
It's supposed to happen, obviously. Self-realization is supposed to happen.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, you already hinted, Murari Gupta Chaitanya Prabhu was.
A couple of examples. I said there's room for everyone. Yeah. Typically, he did ask them to do it. They tried, and then he said, "Oh, that's okay."
And he respected it. Yeah.
He said.
And my question was on the chronological order. If we have that information, like when Indra Maharaj was, it was in previous Manu, and then he went to Lord Brahma, and then came back in this Manu, and
a lot of Manus before.
Okay, so then Krishnavan came in the Dwapar, and then by the time he came back, it was after the Dwapar.
Many Dwapars.
Okay, there is one related question that happens a lot of times. It comes that did Krishna comes only once in day of Brahma, or is it the only original Krishna came once in day of Brahma, and other time it was Vishnu came as Krishna? Like, is there any understanding on this?
Scriptures, I think the scriptures that we refer to, Rupa Goswami's, one of his Sandarbhas, he writes that, giving reference that the original Supreme Lord, the Lord of Goloka Vrindavan, Yashodananda, he appears once in a day of Brahma.
And other time,
so Brahma lives a long time.
So does
he appears once in a day of Brahma.
Original Krishna.
Yeah.
But there's are there other Krishna avatars?
So Brahma lives 360 days, because according to Jyotish Shastra, a year, solar year is 360 days. So 360 days into 100 years. So many times the original Supreme Lord, 360 into 100, so around 36,000 times. That's a lot of.
Yeah. We don't have to have Krishna appear in the same day many times. You're saying there is no need.
For Brahmaji, he's like every day he's appearing now. Yeah. All right. We can stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maya Sri Sudarshan Ji Maharaj ki jai. Hare Krishna. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.